Untold Heights: The Fearless Ascent of Malala Yousafzai. After starting a revolution thanks to a small blog on the internet, Malala Yousafzai suffered an assassination attempt that made her a worldwide reference. But what exactly did she do?
Some people call me the girl who was shot by the Taliban, and some the girl who fought for her rights.
Today, we will learn the incredible story behind the impact of Malala Yousafzai. Are you ready for one of the most incredible stories? Let's get started. In the lush, mountainous Swat Valley of northern Pakistan lies the small town of Mingora, nestled between towering peaks and flowing streams. It was here that Malala Yousafzai opened her eyes for the first time on a sunny July 12 in 1997. From an early age, she showed a fierce curiosity and intellect that amazed those around her. But between 2003 to 2009, a dark cloud settled over the valley. That was the time the Pakistani Taliban, called the Taliban, swept in and took control of much of the region. They imposed their radical version of Sharia law with an iron fist. Women and girls became prisoners in their own homes, forbidden from stepping outside without a male guardian. Any who disobeyed faced severe punishment. Even the bodies of decapitated policemen were being hung in the streets. The Taliban also targeted education, seeing schools as a threat to their rule. A report from the Pakistani army said they had destroyed around 170 schools across the valley. Malala watched as the buildings where she loved to learn went up in flames, the charred wreckage a warning to those who dared defy the Taliban's laws. Yet even in the face of such darkness and oppression, Malala's passion for learning and helping others grew only stronger. But standing up for her rights would lead her down a more dangerous path than anyone could have imagined. As the Taliban's oppressive rule continued to spread across the valley, a group of journalists at the BBC's Urdu website grew determined to share the real experience of living under their control. In late 2008, they came up with a plan to anonymously document life through a student's blog. Their reporter in Peshawar, Abdul Hai Kekar, was acquainted with Malala's father Zuddin, a dedicated schoolteacher in Mingora. But no students were willing to risk speaking out, all too afraid of the Taliban's wrath. Except for 11-year-old Malala Yousafzai, whose courage and passion for learning dwarfed her small stature. When the schools were eventually shut down by the Taliban's decree, Malala bravely took up the task of blogging under the pen name Golmakai, meaning cornflower. Through these dispatches, she gave the world a window into the daily struggles of children being denied their basic right to education. On January 3, 2009, Golmakai published her first entry in the BBC Urdu blog. Using her hands to write down accounts of daily life, she would then pass them to a reporter who scanned and emailed the dispatches. Through her words, the world bore witness to what children faced under the oppressive rule of the Taliban Pakistan militant group. As the Taliban struggled to regain control of the valley after being pushed into rural areas by military occupation, not a single day passed without Malala longing for her books and classroom. When the army finally broke the Taliban's tyrannical rule over Swat, Malala utilized her newfound platform to advocate for girls' education across Pakistan. No longer hiding behind her pen name, she and her father traveled the country rallying support. Their message of learning and empowerment was like a ray of light in a region starved of hope for too long. But powerful forces continued working to extinguish that light at any cost, even as the Yousafzai family fought bravely on. Little did Malala know how much her life would change forever. Malala's advocacy was beginning to have impact, rekindling hope across the valley. But it also made her a target. After giving a speech calling for the restoration of girls' rights, the Taliban marked her for death. On the afternoon of October 9, 2012, Malala finished her school day as usual. But as her bus traveled a familiar route home, something seemed to miss. The road appeared empty. Suddenly, the bus was stopped by two men pretending to be university students. They asked who among the girls was Malala. Sitting with her friend Moniba, deep in thought about exams, Malala confessed her identity. At first, Moniba thought the two men were simply reporters who wanted to interview her famous friend. Though Malala wrote an anonymous blog for the BBC about her hopes of continuing school under the Taliban's rule, she had grown even bolder over time. She traveled the country speaking passionately on television and at events about girls' right to learn. Malala refused to stay silent in the face of such injustice. But as the men asked again for Malala specifically, Moniba noticed a change come over her friend. Without hesitation, one of the men pulled out a pistol and aimed it at her. 2 shots rang out, tearing through Malala's small frame. Monica screamed in horror as her friend fell limp, blood pouring from a wound on her head. Another bullet had struck another girl as terrified students crawled under the seats for safety. It was 10 minutes before someone came to help the terrified girls. In the days following the attack, people struggled to comprehend how such violence could be enacted against a child. While the Taliban were known to make brutal examples of perceived threats, especially women who challenged their rule, the skies over Swat had seemed far clearer of late. A massive military campaign had routed most militant forces from the region some years prior. Life appeared to be returning to normal for locals once more. But as Malala well knew, darkness does not truly leave a place until the last flickering light of hope is extinguished. And her brave advocacy had illuminated a path too controversial for radicals to ignore. Though the worst of the fighting was behind, those who expressed dissent still lived under a shadow of danger. As Manaba held her unmoving friend and prayed for help to arrive, the hours stretched on in an agony of uncertainty. Finally, Malala was rushed to a hospital in Rawalpindi, where doctors worked frantically to save her young life. A bullet had pierced her neck near her spinal cord, and surgical intervention was needed immediately. But the best chances of recovery lay across the sea. So, on October 15th, Malala embarked on a new journey. Flown to Birmingham's world-renowned Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Malala underwent many intensive reconstructive procedures. For months, she battled to mend her broken body through sheer force of will. Titanium plates were fitted into her skull, and an auditory device placed where her ear had been damaged. Finally, on February 8, 2013, she defied all odds in surviving the assassination attempt. But though released from the hospital, Malala's path was only beginning to be reforged. The Taliban attack on Malala received worldwide condemnation. Malala had become a symbol not only in Pakistan, but around the world. As Malala focused on her recovery, her brave actions inspired a wave of support like no other. In Pakistan, over 2 million citizens signed a petition demanding the right to learn. Moved by Malala's stand, the National Assembly passed the country's first bill guaranteeing free compulsory education for all. However, danger still lingered. Word spread that the Taliban vowed to finish what they started. A spokesman chillingly justified the assassination attempt on a 15-year-old by saying she was young, but she was promoting Western culture. Another threatened further attempts on Malala's life, claiming their radical interpretation of Sharia law left no choice. But Malala refused to live in fear or back down from her mission. The bullets fired at Malala only amplified her message for all the world to hear. They wanted to silence her, but what they achieved was turning her into a global figure. The light they tried to extinguish had only grown brighter. Of their attempt on her young life, she reflected.
They shot me on the left side of my head. They thought that the bullet would silence us. I am the same Malala.
The Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought that the bullets would silence us, but they failed. And out of that silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought they would change my aims and stop my ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born. I'm the same Malala. My ambitions are the same. My hopes are the same. And my dreams are the same, she said. With every speech, her message of hope and peaceful change resonated even louder across borders and seas. Crowds hung on her every word, finding solace and inspiration in a voice that refused to be silenced. In 2013, the European Parliament bestowed upon Malala their prestigious Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought in recognition of her indomitable spirit. Amnesty International soon followed, naming her an ambassador of conscience for her work promoting peace and education. To further honor her impact, the United Nations held a momentous ceremony on July 12, 2013, Malala's 16th birthday. There, in front of diplomats and dignitaries from over 100 nations, the UN General Assembly officially instituted Malala Day, making her only the second person in history, after Nelson Mandela, to have an international day dedicated in her honor. Though she had come to the UN years prior with a bullet near her spine, now Malala stood strong before the world. That pivotal year, Malala joined forces with her father to establish the Malala Fund. Through it, they aimed to amplify girls' voices worldwide and sparked change by raising awareness of education's social and economic benefits. Malala's impact continued growing in extraordinary ways. In December 2014, at just 17 years old, she became the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize for her brave work. 3 years later, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres appointed Malala a messenger of peace. Through this role, she travels globally sharing girls' tales of resilience and hope. At the Nobel ceremony, Malala's acceptance speech touched all hearts. She paid tribute to her parents' unconditional love, and for not clipping my wings for letting me fly. Malala said the Nobel was not just for her, but for those forgotten children who want an education. It is for those frightened children who want peace. It is for those voiceless children who want change. With steely resolve, she declared now was not the time for sympathy alone, but action. I am here to stand up for their rights, to raise their voice. It is not time to pity them. It is time to take action, so it becomes the last time that we see a child deprived of education. My great hope is that this will be the last time we must fight for education. Let's solve this once and for all. We have already taken many steps. Now it is time to take a leap. She said, so, where others saw limitations, Malala dared to dream beyond all boundaries. But just days after receiving widespread praise, Malala received a chilling reminder that her mission was far from over. On December 16, 2014, Taliban militants carried out their deadliest attack yet in Peshawar. Armed radicals stormed an army-run school, indiscriminately spraying bullets at terrified students locked in their classrooms. Through the smoke and screams, a grim message emerged that no child in Pakistan was safe simply for wanting an education. When the carnage ended, nearly 150 precious lives have been lost. Over 132 of them children cut down before they had barely begun. Malala, who knew too well the Taliban's cruelty, was devastated by the news but remained unbowed. While others respond to such horrors with doubt, she found only renewed purpose in her calling. Though the avalanche of accolades and celebrity in 2012 to 2014 spurred greater global awareness, her quieter fight continued through the Malala Fund. She poured the Nobel Prize's sizable endowment of over 800,000 euros into the organization. In the years since receiving the honor, Malala demonstrated her commitment to empowerment through education in her own life. She graduated with a degree in philosophy, politics, and economics from Oxford University in 2020. That same year, she became the youngest honorary fellow in history at Linacre College, Oxford.
मैं बहुत ज़्यादा खुश हूँ कि 5.5 साल के बाद मैंने फिर अपने वतन, अपनी मिट्टी पर कदम रखी.
But on March 29, 2018, Malala achieved a monumental milestone. She finally returned to her homeland of Pakistan for the first time since the assassination attempt. Though only a visit after so long away, the emotions proved overwhelming. Tears of joy flowed as she stepped onto the soil that bore witness to both the beginning of her journey and greatest trials. Through it all, Malala remained devoted to her mission of advocating for 122 million children worldwide, still deprived of schooling, especially girls. Malala channeled her experience into best-selling memoirs. I Am Malala, published in 2017, and Malala, My Story the following year. In her pages, she ensured her journey would illuminate the tales of thousands of girls prevented from reaching their full potential due to lack of access to education. She has always said that her story is important because it is the story of many girls who have been denied their right to learn. In surviving her attack, she experienced humanity's capacity for both cruelty and compassion. Against all odds, her recovery was nothing short of miraculous, a testament not only to expert care, but to Malala's own indomitable spirit. Today, at just 25 years old, Malala has already accomplished more than most do in a lifetime. She continues advocating globally as a UN messenger of peace while pursuing postgraduate studies. Through the Malala Fund, she remains dedicated to her vision of a world where all girls receive a quality education. Although she faced attempts to destroy her spirit, Malala has instead blossomed into one of the strongest voices for justice and human rights. Her indomitable courage in the face of adversity serves as an inspiration for people worldwide. While the road ahead is long, Malala's story proves that through compassion and courageous activism, even the darkest of clouds have a lining of hope. Hers is a journey of resilience that will continue empowering generations of children to learn and lead without fear. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be back soon.